Hello investors and welcome back to Just Randy Stocks. You've been so committed to growing this channel, so I'm going to be committed to making sure that I'm delivering videos as often as possible. I'm in the middle of traveling right now, so the light, the background, everything's probably a mess, especially the sound. So if you could just bear with me through the entirety of this video, I think you're going to want to watch it all because we're going to be talking about the China sediment right now. What's been happening with investors? Have they been buying? We're going to talk about Canaan or ticker symbol CAN because I believe this is something you're going to want to have on your radar as Bitcoin starts to tick up. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was just the China sediment and how people are feeling with investors losing hundreds of billions in China stocks in July, and what's really been going on in the last few weeks, and what did the headlines say? So China moves to reassure global investors who've been drawn to the company's strong growth, tech booming industry. So is there this sediment change where people were like, I'd never touch these? So let's just take a look at this article. It says China moves to reassure global investors. And right down here at the bottom, it says Mr. Fang told those present at China's recent regulatory crackdowns on companies engaged in private tutoring, online financial services, and other sectors are aimed to address problems in those industries and to help them grow in a proper manner. And that he said China has no intention to decouple from markets, and especially the U.S. So what happened was Goldman Sachs Group Incorporated, UBS Group, AG, had a meeting last Wednesday evening, and that's why you've seen a rebound. Some of these stocks went down a lot, and then they rebounded on Wednesday after the results of this meeting. So I believe you're starting to see the results of some of these China stocks starting to rebound. Now, one other thing I found interesting was that even though there was this crackdown happening with, pretty much everyone being required to go through cybersecurity review, and you see the cybersecurity attacks happening in the U.S., and I honestly believe that this whole China thing was blown out of proportion a little bit from my standpoint, I believe. And last week, or the week of the last week of July, was there buying? And this article right here talks about investors put 3.6 billion into Chinese stocks last week, and then it gives you 3 bullets here. But what I wanted to do was go through and look at DIDI and the volume last week, and you can see here 123 million, a low for the day of 911, 793. That ultimately the volumes for this stock did increase from their historical numbers. So people were not shying away from averaging down, or starting positions on these Chinese stocks. So BABA, Alibaba, announced their results yesterday, but also look at the volume. I mean, this is one to watch out for. I would say out of all of them, if you were looking for one to trade, Alibaba is had a strong, significant volume day over day. But JD, also look at the volume here compared to its average the previous week. BIDU, Baidu, only 2 days, but when it hit that 153 and 162 mark, anytime NEO goes into the $30 range, which it did, and the way that you find these is just go on historical data for Yahoo, and it'll pull up the historical volume for the last couple of weeks. So I'm still traveling right now, and the internet is a little bit slower, so that's why it's taking a little while for this to upload. So I'm not going to wait for it. I'll just come back to that page. But obviously, really bouncing back strong. From it hitting the $30 range, and NEO. It's just consistently coming back from that $30 range. I think they have that priced at $69. So it's important to cover these China-based stocks because that's where it's based, right? And Canaan, or however you pronounce it, ticker symbol CAN, is one that I was watching a lot last year with the rise of Bitcoin. Never got involved in it, but I think we're about to swing for the fence in round 2, and I want you all to have enough information to make your own investment decisions. But you can see here, I started off with Q4 and their full year 2020 results, and I just want to skip down here. This didn't go well for them. And they had a lawsuit that was brought up, and I'll go through that in just a second because I want to tell you both sides. But although the outbreak of COVID, so COVID hit a lot of businesses, all of them, right? And negatively impacted some of their revenues. But they also started a mass production of their A12 series Bitcoin mining machine. So they had a new series, a new generation of Bitcoin machine, and part of the lawsuit's talking about, there wasn't enough information to warn against these supply chain disruptions, and that there was cannibalization happening of, the previous series of mining Bitcoin machine and this one. So after deep analysis of specific application use and cases and the current market demand for computing, we designed 2 new series IA chips that will be produced in the second half of 2021. So there's 3 key things that are happening in this, and why I wanted to come back to this Q4 summarization. First off, supply chain issues historically, right? Why did the price go down? We need to answer that question. The Bitcoin mining machine, we need to know that Bitcoin's on the rise, so potentially I see this also following suit like it did last year with the rise of Bitcoin. And it's starting to do that. If you're following me on Twitter, I talked about this potentially taking off along with the earnings expectations for BABA or Alibaba. So I wanted to point this out, that not only do I believe that this is going to have growth because Bitcoin's not going anywhere, I believe it's here to stay, and big companies are adding this to their balance sheet to diversify, but also, they're involved in AI chip production. So they had supply chain disruptions, and they had to work through some of these things. So that's a few of the highlights here in the Q4. Now we move to Q1 because we're about to hit Q2 at the end of this month. And it's important to point out what's happening now. And, hopefully we have disclosed everything that we need, but our financial performance improved significantly in the quarter. And you'll see when we go through the chart at the end of this, you'll see that this shows a boost after their earnings, after they release this. So I want to show you the chart after this, so stick around to the end so we can take a look at that. But higher customer demand for quality mining machines, we could see that happen again with, I believe that they're finding better ways or hydro ways or different ways to use these mining machines that are not only cost effective, but good for the environment. And I believe that was a huge portion of the pushback on pretty much Elon Musk denouncing Bitcoin, that he would accept it as, currency, but their ability to ramp up mining machine production. So also another thing to cover is a lot of people might have thought that everything related to mining Bitcoin, in China, that they had completely stopped that. This company is still building the machines. So they have improved their mining machine production yields. So this is a big deal that this statement's in here, because every time you improve your production yield, it means less waste and, ultimately more money to the bottom line and less wrapped up in inventory and waste. So they've got tighter partnerships with foundry partners and other suppliers. So it sounds like they've worked out some of the, supplier issues and production issues, quality, and then ultimately they've upgraded the performance of the machines. So potentially they're looking at a good quarter, but this company has been incredibly inconsistent. According to MarketBeat, you can see that they had 66 million back here in Q4 of 2019, and it just hasn't been consistent. So this is where I would say be cautious, or I would warn you, because there's just not, I mean, the revenue is just all over the place. So it's very difficult to predict, and you might protect your money if you decide to get into this play by just making sure that you exit the day before earnings. And typically the hype leading up to earnings, there's a dip afterwards anyway. So I think it would be a safe call. So I wanted to go through the lawsuit. There were 4 points here on the lawsuit, and it said that they had significant ongoing supply chain disruptions in Q4 of 2020 that weren't disclosed. And Khan's next generation A12 series Bitcoin mining machine had cannibalized sales for older product offerings during the fourth quarter 2020. So as you come in with a new product, say I've got an iPhone 12, then you're going to see a phase out of the iPhone 11 as people buy the iPhone 12. And it sounds like they did a terrible job, of phasing out the previous Bitcoin mining machine and did not appropriately plan for the cannibalization of this A12 series. So basically that's the key point here. There's really 2 key points. They've got 4 points illustrated in the details of this case, but it's not disclosing supply chain disruptions. And the second piece is not being transparent with the mining machines and cannibalization of sales. Anytime they have major business updates, they should file, a 6K, and they've done that. And I wanted to share this latest development, which is we're focused on the Bitcoin mining as a reason to add this to your portfolio, a consideration. But also, I really want to make sure we understand that this is a semiconductor business also, and these chips, the chip shortage, could really be a revenue driver for this company to do real well. And I just don't think a lot of people know about it. So tell me what your thoughts are in the comments below. But here they're talking about the K510 and several key technical advantages. And let me just talk about what it does. And this basically was something that was launched. They talked about this during the 2021 World Artificial Intelligence Conference. So that the K510 has a computing power approximately 3 times and is used for UAV, high definition aerial photo, high definition, video conference. It's got robotics, STEM education, driver assistance scenario, and it's used for both industrial and professional cameras. So, just another use for the chip. And I believe there's several chips in their portfolio, and this is just one of the latest developments. So, their earnings is coming up on August 31st. And, I would say maybe take a look at, it says before the open. So they might update when exactly this is. But according to earnings Whisper, I would look at getting out of your position if you just want to be safe on August 30th. Now, of course, you run the risk of this running up afterwards, right? So, make those decisions on your own, but you can always mitigate your risk. Just take a look at we still have a while. A lot could happen in, another 20, 30 days. So this article I pulled up here for, facilities running on 100% hydro powered. We're talking about Bitcoin mining and how as headlines hit it getting greener, Bitcoin getting more green, people might be interested in coming back. So this article is relatively new. It was towards the end of the month, and 19-year-old earns $54,000 mining Bitcoin. So maybe this hits retail investors, and they're like, oh, okay, that sounds like a good living. How is it working out? But you can see the big point here with this article was that Bitcoin could be getting green. There could be less concern around whether or not it's a bad play due to the environment. So companies with the most Bitcoin. This was also a recent article. And, these 5 public companies have the most Bitcoin on their balance sheets. And are they going to buy more? And we've got MicroStrategy. We've got Tesla. And Tesla article, little tweet back and forth between him and someone else that said, hey, you sold off 10% of your Bitcoin. And Elon was like, Tesla sold 10% of their Bitcoin, not he didn't. So it's just kind of a back and forth. This misinformation, guys, I'm telling you, you really have to read and understand that businesses are adding different types of currency. Like you could add land, you could add, this digital asset, which is gaining value. Square, another one, they just did a huge, big acquisition. So if you're not following those guys, and these are all decent companies, Marathon Digital Holdings, and then Coinbase. So those are the top 5 that I would say, not only great companies, but very forward thinking. And as people are still, businesses, companies are still not sure what to do with digital currency, there's some forward thinkers that do know the direction that it's gonna head. So right now you can see it was in the 29,000 range Bitcoin was, and now it's been teetering around the 39. It looks like it's been holding some solid support, but this could take a run up again. And if it does, I think you could be sure that this ticker symbol CAN is going to follow behind it. So I'm going to start off with this year-to-date chart, and I drew in a couple of lines where I think it would be a no-brainer to buy if it ever dropped back to these levels, but I just don't see it going down into this range. But let me go back out, because this is the lawsuit period here, where there wasn't full disclosure, but these are the dates that they called out in the lawsuit. So you can see it was really following Bitcoin's chart with some major spikes. This got all the way up to almost the $40 range. We had a horrible Q4, which I covered. They had supply chain issues, some cannibalization between their new Bitcoin, and it just went down, right? It went down here to the $7 range, $7.40 where we're sitting. I think we're in the low 8s right now. Then they had a Q1 that was decent, and it had a little bit of support, and then it just kind of trailed off. But as Bitcoin went up, it started to do the same thing, and that's what I hope you understand here. So let's go ahead and hit the 1 month chart and just get a little bit closer in. I was hoping that you would have a chance to get back in this in the low 7s. I am not sure that it's going to reach that. So I would say anything under $8 at this point would be an ad for ticker symbol CAN, and just understanding that this is a play that not only takes advantage of Bitcoin going up. If you believe that's going to happen, this is one that you might consider adding, but also it's semiconductor chips and AI. Do your own due diligence. Leave me a comment below. That's all I got for this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.